shut down the university was the workers. And it's important that we start at that point, because from the reflections that we've had, what's been very clear is that there are no single issue struggles. And if there's one thing that the loss of the referendum for the world's most progressive constitution in Chile is really indicative of, is that single issue activism is not something that is going to take us to where we want to be. And so when we talk about shutting down a university, it is not separate to a strike at Lonmin. And this year we're commemorating 10 years of the Marikana massacre. And then we also can talk about what's happened in the Niger Delta. We can talk about what's happened in the Wild Coast in South Africa, and the war on our resources and on our bodies, and how that's deeply connected to nature and to other forms of existence, and creatures that have to endure the ecological destruction that we as human beings have wrought. So I would say, you know, in explaining the move I've made from a student activist to working more in civil society around broader issues, there's the struggle for universal basic incomes. And while this sounds like a single issue, it really isn't, because what we see in the fight for universal basic incomes is something that really challenges the logic of neoliberalism, that you have to earn what you have by a job in the traditional sense, when we know that inequality is systemic and structural, and that the poor are not unemployed, unproductive members of society, but have been economically looted for centuries. And so our conceptualization of where we start off at this unjust status quo that we find ourselves in has to be challenged on a number of fronts. For where we find ourselves right now, some of the non-negotiable alternatives that we've been considering and dreaming about and trying to breathe into existence with the work that we do is free and decolonized education, basic incomes grounded in redistributive justice, basic services grounded in the best public innovation, building public spaces and seeing beauty as a public good, supporting artists, supporting those most marginalized through a comprehensive system of social support, which is very different to the piecemeal grant system that we have in many of our countries, dismantling surveillance and state violence and the military-industrial complex, free healthcare and a war on intellectual property, which stops the equal manufacturing and distribution capacity of life-saving medication, which we've all witnessed with the COVID-19 pandemic and with the treatment action campaign as a response to the HIV/AIDS crisis that we experienced a few decades ago. Climate justice and a careful navigation of what we now see as green elitism, and accountability and accountable institutions and civil society as a counterpower to government and business elites. There's so many other things that I could mention, but I want us to start thinking about what needs to rise and not just about what needs to fall. And I think that communities are struggling each day against these systems that are built to suffocate, and that, you know, understanding, listening, thinking carefully, feeling deeply what each of us are going through in the various spaces we come from is a way to build a very clear line of solidarity. And I think for us, it's not just the question of all our struggles being linked in terms of ideas, in terms of the politics, maybe the progressive politics that underpin them, but it's really physically on a material level, on a particle level, even if we think about it scientifically in that sense. And there's an essay that I read that I wanted to use to sort of stimulate our thoughts in that direction. And it's titled The War on Air by Daisy Hildyard. And she writes that a revolutionary historian would consider Chernobyl, the transatlantic slave trade, and World War II in the same study even though they may have different causes, victims, and legacies. A Belarusian journalist, Svetlana Alexievich, writes in a book titled Chernobyl Prayer, The Chronicles of the Future, that her story should not be seen as past. Chernobyl is not over. It has only just started. We're still using the old concepts of near and far, them and us. But what do near and far actually mean after Chernobyl? When by day 4, back then, the fallout clouds were drifting above Africa and China. The earth suddenly became so small, no longer the land of Columbus's age. The world was infinite. Now we have a different sense of space. There's nowhere to hide, she writes elsewhere, not on land, water, or in the skies. These white ecologies are stories of the planet that we live on now, and Chernobyl's radiation is still in the Earth's atmosphere. Perhaps the most disturbing detail, though, about this book is not the execution of pets, which were infected at the time, or the death of people, the peeling of people's skin, but the fact that so many of her interlocutors, when she was writing this book, described the experience of nothing, the lack of experience as a collective. Many speakers discussed how they couldn't see or feel any change as the radiation pervaded the environment and their own bodies. So for me, and for all of us here today, I want us to think deeply about how any ecology of human history exists at scales so far above and so far below human life that it operates as silent, but it's never been louder. So my plea to each of us here is to listen, to look, and to feel more deeply about how our struggles are fundamentally the same struggle, and really breathe solidarity by starting from the bottom and making the alternatives that we dream about more real with each step forward. And we know that the road ahead is long, comrades, but none of us can afford to feel despondent and can afford to feel isolated at this point. So it brings me true joy to be with you today, but I think the sense of responsibility is also very foreboding for each of us. And if there are any other questions about the specific lessons that I have learned with Fees Must Fall, and now working with Pay the Grants, which I must correct is not a coalition. Pay the Grants is a grassroots organization, and we are actually looking for support, and we're looking to collaborate. And the students at universities are also looking for the same support. So I would say let's connect, and definitely let's not have this be the last time that we interact with each other on this platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Shaeera. You can take a seat over there. Okay. Thank you, Shaeera. So a provocation and a question I heard was, what must rise? She shared about her experiences transitioning from a student activist who was talking about fees falling, and what has been left in the room is, what do we need to do? What must we elevate alongside that? Can there be some either questions to Shaeera or comments within the room? I've got Briggs, who's going to be moving around on that side of the room, and I'll be moving around on this side of the room. Remember, I just remembered, Briggs, they all have mics on the table. So when you're ready to speak, just press it on. Feel free. Any comments, any questions before we invite the next contribution up? Yes, switch it on. Go ahead. I remember your surname is Zulu. Michael.
Michael Zulu.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, comrades. I picked out one very important note in the comrades' speech, the issue of decolonization of the education system. I think as we are trying to reimagine the future we want, or the Africa we want, we need to seriously look at the education. What are we teaching our children? My colleague from Zambia will agree with me when I say that our education syllabus, for example, is still British. So there is really no purpose of education if it's not going to address the challenges of real life. So we are teaching our children to be functional illiterates. You know, we are giving them degrees that they are not going to use in their lifetime. So education needs to be looked at in the various forms. Thank you, Comrade.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Functional illiterates, decolonizing the education system.
Kumba here has got a point.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Was just very touched by all that you spoke about. I think it's on. And I think what remained with me is that comment of nothingness. And I've been thinking a lot lately of people who were alive at the beginning, or I guess of the Second World War, because that's the closest to us. And I wonder, different people from different places, what they were thinking or knowing or not knowing about what the world was going to go through. And today we sit and we look at things happening around us. And I'm wondering how many are conscious of where we're going and what is happening. So that just what you spoke about Chernobyl just brought me back to that. And how do we, I guess the question is, how do we know? You know, how do we also make sure that out of that sense of nothingness, we see that things are brewing, things are happening. Thank you.
Can I grab something this side, Briggs? Briggs, before you go ahead there at the front, I just want to check. There's a hand here and another one over there. Please remember to give us your names before you start.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Simon Peter Baingana. I'm from Uganda, a land rights activist, and I also work with KQ Hub Africa. So thank you very much for that presentation. I just have a few observations and questions. And one is that as a person who has worked with students trying to organize them, we've read a lot about the Fees Must Fall movement that you were part of, and it gives me joy to meet you in this room. I just have a question about that movement, is that what was the most critical challenge that you faced as a movement, and how did you overcome that challenge? The second thing is, you talk about building solidarity, and I think as a room here, in all discussions that we're talking about, is how do we build collective power? How do we build solidarity amongst ourselves? How do we work together? My question is, how do we build solidarity from the bottom? Because at the end of the day, is that we who are here in this room are representing movements, are representing grassroots people, but how practically can we involve them in our struggles, and how can we build that solidarity that is very impactful, that an issue affecting South Africa is also affecting Uganda, and how do we rise up to curb or to overcome this challenge? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Simon. Shaeera, perhaps you can answer, and then we'll take the next 3 questions and you'll be our last one. Or comments, contributions. Go ahead. The question was around, is there a mic close to you? There should be one. I brought it back. They'll bring one for you. But the question, if I heard it correctly, was around what was the biggest challenge that you faced in organizing for Fees Must Fall, and how did you overcome it?
In hindsight, I think the biggest challenge that we had was transcending the university, because by keeping the issues that we were fighting for within a university structure, we ended up shooting ourselves in the foot because it was so easy for the government to destabilize what we were trying to do. It started off in 2015, and at that point, the tactics of mobilization were very different to what happened in 2016, the following year. In 2015, we took the university by surprise by choosing to shut down the institution. So that means that we had chosen to affect the academic program because we knew that having a protest in some quiet corner of the university was not actually going to have any impact. And in fact, the nature of protest is also that it has to be disruptive if it's to be effective. And so what became a challenge the following year is that we used the same tactics we had used in 2015. So we shut down again. And at that point, it was expected. The university was filled with private security. There were police officers that were brought onto campus. And we saw massive efforts by the state and the university colluding with one another to kill this movement through surveillance. It came out in the Zondo Commission as well that there were spies that were placed within the movement. And a lot of money and resources were spent on tapping phones, and really using very undemocratic fascist means to destabilize what I think anyone could say is probably the largest protests since the end of apartheid in South Africa. And if I could go back, I think what we would have done is to get communities and civil society more involved, to raise the stakes really, so that it wasn't just a protest around the decommodification and decolonization of our institutions, but really restructuring our society at a very systemic level. And that I think could still happen. Students today at universities have a base to work with, and they can learn from the mistakes that we made. And that's my hope and that's my dream.
All right, can we go to Connie here?
Thank you so much. My name is Connie Benson, and I'm here with the Blue Planet Project, International Water Justice Movement, part of the African Water Justice Network. I'm also a historian and work with social movements and students documenting from within as part of a organizing and mobilizing strategy. But Shaeera, you won't remember me, but the first time I met you, you were in ICU on a hospital bed, having just been shot at close range but with rubber bullets in the back. And I was there with my comrades, with Kelly and Leanne. And so that's how I ended up at the hospital talking to your parents that day. And I just want to point out that what you say about the material links, about how we are all, physically actually connected as well as connected through ideas, it also comes down to our physical connections and our material connections. And, those protest actions of putting bodies on the line, in combination with having ideas and alternatives at hand, was one of the things that made the 2015-2016 protests so important in terms of just cracking the denialism that we've had here for so long since 1994. And what I really want us to think about over the next few days coming out of your provocation is, how do we forge that kind of solidarity in concrete action that's backed by real material resources, but that also has alternative kind of material suggestions at hand? And I think it's that combination of all of those things that really bring your reflections from that moment and ongoing work with the grants to life. So thank you for bringing that into the room.
Fantastic.
Okay, there's a question or a comment here.
Where are you? Okay, Mkasiri, then Ebrimaya.
Okay, Ndogos Banda Mkasiri is my name, the coordinator of the Stop the Bleeding campaign. I think the message in congratulations was very simple. Fees must fall. But looking also at South Africa, that it is the top emitter of illicit financial flows from Africa. Looking at roughly $10 trillion having been 10 trillion rands having been lost from 1980 to 2018. I'm keen to find out, how did you go deeper to connect the financing issues, apart from just saying, let the fees fall, and making that exemplary case for the rest of Africa, being an epicenter of illicit flows from Africa?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm Ibrahim Sal again. I thought that was a really touching presentation. Really great. I want to come back to the issue of solidarity, practical solidarity. Two questions related to that. Did you ever try to get that solidarity practically to exist with movements, student movements or non-student movements outside of South Africa? And if you have tried, were you successful in any kind of way? Has there been any sympathy? Because I think that's one of the big things on the continent today. There was a time when if you had a protest movement of the kind you had in South Africa, you'd have movements all over the continent in solidarity. I'm not sure whether it happened this time around. Yeah. My second question is related to the point you made about what must rise. What must fall, we have a good sense of now, but what must rise? In Francis Nyamjo's book on the fees must fall, he asked the same question, but he doesn't really respond to it. I don't know, what kinds of answers do you begin to give to that issue of what must rise in the movement then, or what do you think now should be the thing that you have put forward as the alternative or the, yeah.
Okay, before you answer that, thank you. Before you answer that, Shaeera, there were two questions. I hope you've captured them. I'm going to shift, hold on to them. I'm going to shift actually because it seems there's more engagement than I expected, which is good, I'm not holding it against you, keep it coming. What I would then like to do instead is let's get the other three to come and do their intros. Write your questions, please. Keep your questions, keep your comments, also your experiences. Remember, you don't only have to ask a question or write a comment. You can also share your own experience as resonance. So I'll ask them to do their intro, grab a seat, intro, take a seat, and then we can speak to all of them. Okay. I will call up next Boniface Mwangi, who's from Kenya. Yes, Boniface. Come talk to us. You can be here and then you'll go back and grab a seat to join Shaeera, who's left, but is coming back.
I feel like because I feel ambushed, it was supposed to be a panel, not a presentation.
The language of ambushed is not pleasant.
Hi, everyone. How are you feeling, Briggs? Hey! Recharge yourself, eh?
Yes.
Yeah. So, movement experience. I think we've filled our generation. So our forefathers fought for the independence of our respective countries. There was Pan-Africanism, there was Ubuntu, there was political education. And then fast forward, we, the younger generation who came into the space, we found no books to read, we found no mentors, and we became NGO reliant. So you begin a movement, like I began working in the space without any donor, without knowing anyone, self-taught, and then they streamline you and bring you to these fancy rooms and you lose yourself. And when you go back to your village, they don't know who you are, and they think you're a traitor because now you drive a nice car, and you're no longer one of them. So I want us to borrow a couple of examples. Something you can learn from the colonizers. When they came to our continent, they came without knowing our language, without knowing our food, without never being in our village, but they came, lived in our village, converted us into Christianity, and some of them remained. And I think for us to change our continent, we have to do similar things. And if we can't do that, Let's get the people from the village, go educate them, take them back to work in the same communities. Because as we do more indigenization and we do more programming and we do more donor-focused activities, we're losing those people because we become their voice and they lose their voice. What is supposed to be is a channel and a platform for their voices. And you have failed to do that because you're the ones who come in to speak on their behalf instead of bringing them to the room to speak on their own behalf. And that means when the going gets tough, we heard about the rise of right-wing extremists in this country and the religious right. In our country, you have a leader who is a thief, a leader who is a murderer, a man who was accused of crimes against humanity, taken to the Hague, a man who grabbed a school playground, a man who has done so many heinous crimes, but he wears the Christian hat and people forgive them because our people have been brainwashed to the church and in religion. And I think as we seek to educate and liberate our people, we need to fight religion because religion has become a soother to our people. They blame their poverty to God. They go and say, God will give me a job. God doesn't create any jobs. God will do this for us. God doesn't do those things. He's not human. He doesn't vote. He doesn't run for public office. But they say blasphemy. But we need to challenge the thinking that our people have because God can't be blamed for the power cuts in this country. It's true. For the corruption in this country, right? And he can't be blamed for the problems in my country. God doesn't own any land in this country. The Afrikaners do. So why can't we just go and occupy the land? No, there must be a structure about that. So as we talk about educating, organizing, educating, and liberating our people, we need to play a long-term game. I'll give an example, 2 examples actually. So there was the Wall Street protest, Occupy Wall Street, and no banker went to jail because capitalism protects itself. The kids went to Wall Street, and I was in New York during that time. The kids went to Wall Street, ended up with criminal charges and criminal records because they self-protected themselves. The same thing about Fist Must Fall. The kids who were there suffered later on. We need to play the long-term game and say, are we going to change our continent? Yes. How are we going to do that? If it's the political power we need to prepare those people for political power. The ANC had the Youth League, which Balema is a product of. Nyerere in Tanzania, the CCM have a training school as well. Why don't you have training school for activists? Why are we not doing exchange programs for activists? Why are we not teaching people? Everyone in this fancy room today, are you a member of Africans Rising, which is an organizing movement for Africans movement? Because if we do not come together, we are going to perish together. There's the Dictators Club, the AU, where they meet and protect each other. Do we have a similar thing? When a comrade is arrested in Tanzania or in South Africa or in Nigeria, do we rally together and protect them and say, do not touch them? We don't do that. When you have struggles in our respective countries and you understand that a particular comrade does not have the intellectual depth to run a country, but there is a movement, do we mentor them to prepare them for power? If you look at Sudan, which is going through a revolution and they've not given up, but you look back, step back again, and you look at Egypt, had a revolution led by young people, but they're not organized to lead. So the Brotherhood came to power, and then Morsi overthrown. And what's his name? Sisi. He's a dictator, but he overthrew a democratically elected president, threw him in jail, who died in jail, but still the young people don't have those spaces. So back in the days when ANC was sending guys to go and learn how to fight the apartheid government, or in my country where people have been sent to go and learn how to fight the British government, they were getting a form of ideology and a form of education. And you must start thinking on those similar lines, that the young people that you want to lead or to liberate must get a political education. Because if they don't get that, they'll be brainwashed with money, they'll take religion, and they will sell out. We had not told us stories about our heroes in our culture. So my intervention for this particular discussion is that without political education of young people, we are going nowhere. without unity among movements, we are going nowhere. And if you keep on replacing the people who are fighting for in these rooms, we are going nowhere. So we need to go back to our villages like the missionaries, learn the language, work with the people. And finally, the truth is, those people in the village are willing to pay for movement work. They may not give you money, but they'll feed you and they'll house you. They did that to the missionaries. The church in Africa gives so much money to the Pope who is in Rome. Every Sunday we give money to the Pope who's in Rome. Every Sunday we give money to the fake pastors and prophets. That means those similar people, sell them that story, sell them that movement ideology, make them believe they're going to get liberated. They will fund you and they'll protect you and you shall liberate your countries. Thank you very much.
Onde. Shaeera, can you join him? Thank you, Boniface. I love provocations around religion. Love. I hope there's lots of contributions. Hold your questions, write your questions, because I'm going to invite the next person. So remember what it is that we are discussing. I'm going to invite the next person to give their provocations. And then there's, I think, one more thereafter. So Deji, is Deji around? No, Deji didn't. Okay. So, okay, got it. So then we've got Lala. Lala Mbolatiana. Yes, there we go. Thank you.
It will be in French.
Okay, did you hear that? It's going to be in French. Please,
like
can you
title of
put,
movie? It will be in French.
It will be in French. Ooh. Okay, so you have a moment to put back your earphones. Keep them close hereafter, because of course we will need them for the discussions, okay, around your neck. Okay, when you are ready. Is the mic comfortable for you?
Yes, c'est confortable. Tout le monde est OK? OK. Oui, à Madagascar, il y a presque 3000 femmes qui meurent chaque année suite à des avortements qui se font clandestinement. Il y a également plus de 3000 femmes qui meurent parce que, comme a dit mon frère, les prêtres ont voulu qu'elles meurent. 3000 femmes, c'est comme rien quand on parle de chiffres. Mais si on prend un avion qui peut prendre 100 personnes, ça équivaudra à 30 avions qui, chaque année, tombent sur mon île. S'il n'y avait qu'un avion par an qui tombe et que pendant des années, il y ait les mêmes accidents, je pense que nos gouvernements se demanderaient, mais que faire? Mais l'équivalent de 30 avions qui tombent chaque année n'est vu comme rien, parce qu'il s'agit de vies de femmes, pas n'importe lesquelles, mais les femmes pauvres. Parce que vous savez, les femmes riches, quand elles ont des soucis, elles prennent un avion et vont à côté. Parce qu'à Madagascar, ce sont les soi-disant chrétiens qui tiennent la politique. Et aujourd'hui, je voudrais vraiment mettre cette action sur où est la limite entre la vie de la citoyenne, et je tiens bien, citoyenne mais pas citoyen, et tous ces hommes qui prétendent être l'avocat de Dieu. Parce que c'est eux qui disent que non, Dieu est choqué. Dieu, il est sidéré parce que nous, on se bat pour les droits des femmes. Si vous pensez que votre pays, les choses vont mal, je vais vous faire une petite blague. Vous connaissez Madagascar? C'est un dessin animé. Et c'est vrai, c'est ce qui se passe dans mon pays. Mon pays, c'est comme un dessin animé où le président roi s'appelle King Julian et c'est un DJ. le président actuel est un DJ. Et vous savez à quel point, dans ce dessin animé, la comique effleure vraiment ce qui est ridicule. Mais pourtant, c'est ce qui se passe dans mon pays parce que la politique est trop mélangée à la religion et que la vie des femmes reste juste quelque chose qui n'est pas importante parce que les hommes tiennent le pouvoir politique et ce sont les hommes qui sont dans nos églises, que nous payons tous les dimanches, mais qui n'ont rien à faire de la vie des femmes. Actuellement, à Madagascar, le droit à l'interruption de la grossesse est totalement interdite, même si la femme va mourir. Même si c'était le grand-père qui a engrossé sa petite fille de 9 ans. Même si la femme a subi un cancer et tout ça. On laisse une femme mourir parce que les hommes ont décidé de ça. Merci de votre attention.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Thank you. No? Am I back? Yeah? You can hear me? Okay, fantastic. Can I get my people to come back? Shaeera, Boniface. Oh, you needed the translation. There's no signal up there. Let's play, let's see, because we can always reintegrate. It's okay. And then we've got our last contribution from Aliou. Aliou Sane. Okay, is he in the room? Okay, fantastic. And Aliou is also going to be speaking French. Hey, you're also going to be in French? Okay, so keep your... It's up to you. You have full license to do as you wish.
It is a mix of English, Wolof from Senegal and Mandinka from... Okay.
Ideally pick one. He'll speak in French.
Yeah.
Let's move this for you. Yeah, if it's French, you have to go back to your seats. Oh, there's no signal. Okay, then let's have this dialogue at your seats. It's fine. Do go back to your seats. Okay, she wants to get a picture of you. Smile and wave. Is that good?
Thank you.
Is that fine?
Thank you.
Okay, you can get your earphones back on. I guess we'll, during the break, fix that.
Ok, merci à tout le monde. Je m'appelle Aliou Sane et je vais parler comme mon frère Mukasiri du Zimbabwe. Je viens du province du Sénégal et dans un continent, l'Afrique. Et je suis membre fondateur du mouvement citoyen Y en a marre. Je suis journaliste de formation et je suis aussi membre du réseau panafricain qui regroupe une trentaine de mouvements citoyens et d'activistes d'Afrique et de ses diasporas qui s'appelle AFRIKKI. Et voilà, donc je suis un peu déstabilisé parce que le format n'était pas celui-là, de venir faire face à cette assemblée où chacun aurait pu être là pour partager des expériences de vie enrichissantes pour tout le monde. Donc, Y en a marre est un mouvement qui est né au Sénégal en janvier 2011. Et ça a été dans la foulée à l'époque des printemps arabes et tout. Et le mouvement est né dans un contexte très compliqué. Et moi, j'ai l'habitude souvent de dire que ce qui a favorisé l'émergence du mouvement Y en a marre au Sénégal et après le ballet citoyen au Burkina, Filimbi au Congo et d'autres, c'est qu'il y a eu un vide qui s'est créé par le fait qu'entre la société civile classique qui, à un moment, dans nos pays, a été beaucoup manœuvrée par les États à les parquer et à les parquer à un rôle d'arbitre qui compte les coups entre les pouvoirs et l'opposition, en leur disant que vous êtes neutre sur certaines questions, vous n'avez pas le droit de prendre certaines positions, comme sur la Constitution, le président qui veut briguer une troisième candidature dont il n'a pas le droit. Donc, il prenait des pincettes, il mettait des formes et ça met toujours à l'aise nos gouvernants pour tripatouiller les constitutions et comploter sur le dos de nos peuples. Donc, à côté de la société civile, il y a aussi ceux qui sont engagés dans les partis politiques partisans classiques. Et je me rappelle qu'en 2011, quand le mouvement se soulevait, justement, nous étions dans un contexte où tous les jours, les journaux faisaient état de détournement de deniers publics, de malgouvernance, de certaines dépenses qui ne sont pas la priorité du peuple, comme ériger certains monuments à coût de milliards. On n'a rien contre les monuments, mais quand on met des milliards dessus et qu'en même temps, dans la banlieue de Dakar, très proche, les populations vivent dans des eaux des inondations depuis 9 mois, 10 mois, ça, c'est un problème. Et quand dans le même contexte, l'université est secouée parce que les étudiants ont des difficultés, en fait, la vie est de plus en plus chère, les Sénégalais vivent dans des difficultés et face à ça, l'opposition politique est occupée à des guerres de positionnement et à la préparation d'élections et la société civile qui jusque-là était là a joué de grands rôles et continue de le jouer, mais il y a cette difficulté-là. Et c'est comme ça que le mouvement Y en a marre est né. Donc, ça a été tout de suite le cri de ralliement de toutes les franges de la société sénégalaise. Ça a été l'initiative de journalistes comme moi et Fadel Barro, plus des artistes aussi très engagés qui, à 15 ans, 16 ans déjà, à travers leur hip-hop, étaient très engagés, faisaient la prison parce qu'ils dénonçaient la malgouvernance de leur région. Donc, voilà, je ne vais pas trop m'attarder sur Y en a marre parce qu'après, je vais aller sur AFRIKKI. Mais c'est juste dire que Y en a marre a essayé de jouer son rôle à l'époque dans la mobilisation des citoyens contre la troisième candidature du président de l'époque à travers le slogan « Touche pas à ma constitution », mais il y a eu d'autres acteurs aussi. Et c'est pourquoi il y a eu une initiative du M23 qui a regroupé beaucoup de monde. Mais Y en a marre a beaucoup contribué et a beaucoup contribué surtout à l'époque sur le fait que quand des jeunes qui n'ont plus d'espoir, qui pensent que le gouvernement ne fait rien pour qu'ils sortent de la situation qu'ils vivent. Parfois, l'expression qu'ils ont, c'est soit de prendre la pirogue, c'est une forme de radicalisation, aller vers un Eldorado européen incertain, ou bien certains restent au pays, à chaque fois qu'il y a des difficultés, des coupures d'électricité de 24 heures, ils sortent pour brûler des pneus, pour tout casser. On leur a dit, ben non, ce n'est pas une bonne solution, parce que si vous brûlez, vous cassez, c'est nous qui en périssons, c'est nous qui prenons les bus quand vous les cassez. Même quand vous brûlez des pneus, les ministres et les officiels du système, quand ils passent, ils relèvent les vitres, ils mettent la clim et il n'y a pas de souci. C'est nous qui humons aussi tout ça. Donc, la meilleure manière, c'est qu'on va vers des élections. Vous êtes jeune, vous avez 18 ans, allez vous inscrire sur les listes électorales. Et la particularité a été l'impressionnante, l'importante contribution du hip-hop dans tout ce que nous avons fait à travers la sensibilisation. Et nous avons eu près de 557 000 nouveaux jeunes qui ont adhéré au fichier électoral et ça a été déterminant après dans le changement politique qu'il y a eu au Sénégal en 2012. Et donc, il y a eu ce changement. Et l'une des choses qui arrivent dans nos pays, j'essaie de raconter une histoire sans être dans des commentaires. L'un des premiers risques qui arrive, c'est que quand le pouvoir vient, il s'installe. Le président qui arrive, il a conscience de la puissance de ce mouvement. Et d'ailleurs, entre les deux tours, contre le président qui n'avait pas droit à la troisième candidature, Abdoulaye Wade, il est venu nous voir pour demander notre soutien. Nous lui avons dit que nous, on ne faisait pas de soutien à un quelconque politique, qu'on ne donnait pas de consigne de vote, mais qu'on était dans une lutte contre Abdoulaye Wade qui n'avait pas le droit à une troisième candidature et que cette lutte lui profitait. Mais nous lui avons dit dans l'intimité de notre siège que ça va vous profiter, vous serez président. Mais une fois que vous serez élu, sachez que nous ne sommes pas pour des postes, nous ne sommes pas pour des avantages, mais la seule chose, c'est qu'on sera toujours là pour faire face. Et c'est pourquoi, quand il a été élu, il nous a reçus, il a voulu qu'on intègre le gouvernement. C'était une manière de décapiter, en fait, le mouvement. Et je pense que beaucoup de mouvements risquent cela. En fait, un pouvoir qui arrive, qui vous fait les yeux doux, qui vous prend, il y a un ministre, il y a, voilà, et ça y est, vous êtes coupé du bas peuple. Et nous lui avons dit merci, c'est gentil. Et c'est là que les problèmes ont démarré d'ailleurs, parce que depuis lors, c'est tout un cycle de d'abord d'intimidation. Quand ça ne passe pas, quand on ne peut pas vous récupérer, on fait en sorte que votre voix ne soit plus audible. On s'attaque à votre image, on s'attaque à votre crédibilité. Certains de nos partenaires qui sont établis au Sénégal sont là et ils m'entendent bien. Oui, vous êtes financés par l'Occident, par des organisations, je ne sais pas quoi, par des lobbies pour déstabiliser le pays. Et parfois, c'est des campagnes de dénigrement qui ont un effet auprès de certaines populations et qui nuisent. Moi, je le dis ici, je pense que Zongo peut le dire pour le Burkina. Il n'y a pas ce que le balai citoyen ne subit pas venant des autorités. Et on sait que le balai citoyen, quand ça a tangué sous Blaise Compaoré, c'est eux qui ont traversé la foule, c'est eux qui ont mené tout le combat pour le départ de Blaise Compaoré. Après, les politiques ont pris le pouvoir et se retournent contre eux pour les dénigrer, pour faire en sorte que leur voix ne soit pas audible. Donc, on continue avec le mouvement Y en a marre. Je ne parle pas de toutes les difficultés, de tous les morts qu'il y a eu lors des manifestations en 2011, de tout ce qu'on a vécu, nous, des mois durant où on n'a pas été chez nous, où on ne pouvait pas exposer nos familles, on dormait ailleurs pour ne pas exposer nos familles. Et l'autre chose aussi, c'est que moi, personnellement, je suis journaliste de formation. J'ai eu la chance d'avoir l'éducation qu'il fallait. J'ai fait les études et puis, voilà, quand Y en a marre naissait, je travaillais déjà dans une ONG internationale. Et beaucoup me disent, mais tu n'en as pas marre, toi. Et tout ce que tu dis, tu peux te soigner, tu manges peut-être à ta faim et tout. Pourquoi tu t'engages? Je dis, mais non. On ne peut pas être dans un pays, être un cadre supérieur, s'en sortir et tout, et qu'autour de soi, même ses propres tantes n'ont pas $10 pour se soigner. Pourquoi? Parce qu'il y a une élite politique qui accapare les richesses du pays, et parfois sans mérite, et qui exploite le peuple. Donc, il est important d'avoir un mouvement comme ça qui amène ce qui nous dirige à replacer le citoyen au cœur, en fait, de toutes les décisions et de tout ce qu'ils font. Et pour terminer, je vais aller sur AFRIKKI. Il y a eu Y en a marre au Sénégal. Il y a eu le balai après. Il y a eu d'autres. Et à un moment, on s'est dit, pourquoi agir? Pourquoi agir séparément, chacun dans l'intimité ou dans la fermeture de son territoire tracé par le colon, alors que nous avons les mêmes problématiques dans nos pays. Quand je vais au Burkina, quand je vais au Congo, c'est comme si j'étais au Sénégal. Parce que tout ce qu'ils disent, tout ce que les peuples vivent dans ces pays-là, c'est les mêmes choses que nous vivons. Et face au pouvoir et pas face aux menaces qui pèsent sur nous, on a estimé qu'il était important de créer une plateforme où on se retrouve pour nous protéger mutuellement, pour apprendre les uns les autres et pour agir ensemble. Et c'est comme ça qu'on a eu l'idée. Déjà, le premier acte de AFRIKKI en tant que plateforme, ça a été l'invitation qui nous a été faite au Congo. Nos amis Sylvain Saluseke qui est là, tu peux venir avec moi, mon frère, parce que je parle d'AFRIKKI maintenant. Donc, Sylvain Saluseke qui est là, eux, ils faisaient un important travail au niveau de Lucha au Congo sur l'accès à l'eau potable, sur toutes ces problématiques-là qui préoccupent les communautés. Il y avait d'autres qui avaient une initiative aussi de Filimbi. Ils nous ont invités pour venir s'inspirer de nous, pour échanger et pour voir comment agir ensemble. Mais quand on est arrivé au Congo, malheureusement, après une conférence de presse, la police militaire de Kabila est venue nous arrêter et on nous a mis en prison. Et le lendemain matin, le gouvernement a fait une conférence pour dire que des terroristes ont été arrêtés au Congo avec des armes et il faudra qu'ils servent de leçon et il faudra sévir lourdement contre eux. Donc, c'est cette notion de terrorisme. Et ça commence à faire son effet dans nos pays contre les activistes, contre les lanceurs d'alerte, contre ceux qui agissent dans les mouvements. Sous prétexte de combat contre le terrorisme, de lutte contre le terrorisme, il y a un autre terrorisme que j'ai appris aujourd'hui avec Hélène qui a parlé de terrorisme politique, de tout cela qui nous persécute et qui font en sorte que nos voix ne soient pas audibles. Mais au-delà de ça, on nous traite de terroristes. Il y a une loi au Sénégal qui a été votée pour corser les choses de telle sorte que sur une manifestation quelconque, Aliou Sané peut être arrêté et traité de terroriste. Et pour moi, il est important l'opportunité d'avoir ce Baraza 2022, cette rencontre entre tous ceux qui se battent, tous ceux qui luttent pour des causes qui nous sont communes, qui sont universelles. Je pense qu'il est important que même nos luttes, qu'on les remette en question. Parce que quand je pense que 11 ans derrière, j'ai dit non à la 3e candidature d'Abdoulaye Wade, et qu'aujourd'hui où je vous parle, Il y a 3 jours, on a lancé une campagne pour dire non à la candidature de Machi, qui était dans l'opposition, qui était avec nous, à nos côtés, pour se battre contre cette 3e candidature d'Abdoulaye Wade, et qui aujourd'hui est dans la posture de vouloir faire les mêmes choses, parce que durant son règne, il a fait pire en termes d'attaque contre la démocratie, restriction de l'espace civique, malgouvernance et tout. Il y a des raisons de se poser des questions sur ce que nous faisons, comment nous le faisons, pour quel impact et qu'est-ce qu'il faut changer. Donc, j'apprends depuis ce matin en écoutant et j'espère que je vais continuer d'apprendre les uns des autres. Et pour moi, il est important, ensemble, on est plus fort. Notre frère du Burkina, pour terminer, il s'appelle Kamao, il est du ballet citoyen. Il a été arrêté par la junte au pouvoir. Il risquait, je ne sais pas combien d'années de prison. Mais quand AFRIKKI s'est saisi du dossier, on a essayé de l'internationaliser. On a trouvé même un avocat qui est parti de Dakar pour aller le défendre au niveau de Ouagadougou. Ça a eu l'effet que ça a eu parce que ces gens, ils se sont dit, Kamao n'est pas seul dans sa lutte, le ballet citoyen n'est pas seul dans sa lutte. Et il est important qu'à travers nos actions communes, que l'on sache que chacun d'entre vous et nous ne sommes pas seuls dans nos luttes. Et pour moi, c'est ça le sens de ce genre de rencontre. Encore une fois, merci beaucoup et merci.
Thank you, Aliou. It looks like you can go back to your chair. Yeah, and we can have the conversation in the room, I guess. There were 3 contributions outside or after Shaeera, and I think there's lots that was said. There's something very particular that is simmering in me that I will bring back into the room a little bit later. But for now, I want to gather any questions, any comments before we do a short break that will usher us into our own reflections again. Are there questions, comments, thoughts? Yes, there's some rooms. Briggs, let's continue, you and me. Oh, can I start with, do we have pieces of paper yet? Do we have our, Tembi, not yet. Okay, that's fine. With you. Didn't want to use the pronouns. So there's a contribution here, and there was another hand, yes, and then, okay, there's many, I love it. Okay, let's keep them going. I'll say 1, 2, and then something from you, Briggs. So I've got 2 here, and then you'll take another 2. Go ahead.
Thank you very much to all the panelists. I am Fatima Valley. I work with the social movement called Mining Affected Communities United in Action and Women Affected by Mining United in Action, Makoa and Wamua. So initially this question was for Shaeera, but I'd like to put it out to all of the panelists. As some of your key learnings as being part of social movements, can you reflect or share with us a little bit of how movements tend to undo themselves, whether it is because of intersectional issues with Fees Must Fall, we had issues around gender. In other movements, the role of what donors bring into it also corrupts the space. And so where you have very good organic organizing, you've got these spaces become corrupt and it undoes itself. So if you can just reflect a little bit about that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
I like to heat up the room a bit. Cho boy! I can hear my people from Kenya. Cho boy! My people from Zimbabwe, are you here? Cho boy!
Yeah.
My people from Senegal, are you here? Let me hear you. Cho boy!
Hey!
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 Cho boy!
Hey!
Boy!
Hey!
Boy!
Hey!
Boy! Thank you very much. I just want to take a minute or two to give 2 comments. I think the issue of what must rise is very important, and I think it is necessary that we pay some attention to that. because I was having that same conversation with my brother here, Michael Zulu, last night, about the need for the resistance to evolve from being defensive to being on the offensive, right? We need to create the kind of society that we want to live in. We don't want to live in a society where profit is prioritized over life. So what is the opposite of that society? We need to think and create that society. That becomes our agenda that we then push. And it becomes the antithesis of the status quo. And then we can produce a synthesis. I'm using a few of Marxist terminology. Forgive me about that. Yeah, but that is necessary. And in that particular framework, the question of solidarity that Ibrahim talked about is also very important. And I'm happy to share that one of the outcomes of the All African Movements Assembly that Africans Rising convened in Arusha, Tanzania, is the formation of a Pan-African Solidarity Action Network. So that network is basically a network that will enable us to pass information very quickly from South Africa when there is Christmas for protests, to people in Ghana, to people in Senegal, to people in Cote d'Ivoire, to people in Kenya. And before the oppressors will know, there are protests all over the country regarding this particular issue. We want to make sure that what is happening in one part of Africa is not alien to people in other parts of the continent, because that is really, really important. And then the next quick one I want to touch on is the issue of political education that Boniface talked about. Because in the end, you want to be able to have that sort of mindset that will be conducive to the kind of principles that we want to push in society. And that ties into the point I was making about being on the offensive. For instance, right now, we know that we have leaders, in actual fact, misleaders, right? Whose main preoccupation is to steal. And let's call it what it is. It is not necessarily just corruption, it is stealing in the sense of it. And their preoccupation is to steal and amass and continue to amass for themselves, their children, and their grandchildren. Whereas the countries they are supposed to be leading, which in fact they are misleading, are wallowing in abject poverty. If we were to design a program, for instance, if activists came around to design a program, a covert program, I must say, that is capable of investigating the real cases of stealing, identifying where the money is kept, and making sure that they are able to empty all the bank accounts and send the money back to the people from whom it was stolen. Would there be support for that kind of thing? Because there is also the tendency sometimes to think that we have to resist, or we have to rise against oppression in acceptable ways. And that is not going to work. We must be ready to adopt radical means where the so-called acceptable ways are not working. And I shared the comment that Boniface made about preparing the leaders to take over. But I think some of those conversations, we may have to have those conversations in rooms without phones or laptops. And I'm not pointing to anybody in particular in this room, but you can be sure that in this room, deliberately or inadvertently, some people are going to pass information to intelligence services in South Africa. Once they know that movements are meeting here, intelligence services are going to be in the room one way or the other. You know, do we have the systems to also gather intelligence on these people and act and preempt some of the things that they are going to be doing to us, so that we do not wait to react to them, but we are also on the offensive and building the kind of society that we want to build. Hey!
Hey!
Bye!
Hey!
Bye!
Hey!
Thank you.
Thank you. Who? Okay, can we get to Ellen? Ellen's going to say something. Then I want responses. Then the next round of questions again or comments. Okay. Is there anything on your side? Yeah, there's lots there. Okay, Ellen, go ahead. And then some responses from the provocateurs, and then we'll take the next round.
My question to all the speakers builds on the last two questions. How did you position or think about positioning your movements to not demobilize around the specific campaigning demands or goals once they were achieved or not achieved, but transition to longer term change? And I want to say that in the context of the powerful example of South Africa and the historic global solidarity movement that was unprecedented in history and that was focused on anti-apartheid, the civil rights and the achievement of the civil rights in the election led to rapid demobilization and not positioning the solidarity to achieve economic and social rights and continue with the reconstruction of the country. So how do we position movements to pivot from campaigning goals to longer term systemic change without the movement demobilizing or the solidarity demobilizing?
Beautiful. Thank you. So there's something what's coming up is how do we start to position ourselves even on the offense? How do we not fall apart, deconstruct, fall away, demobilize? I'll start with the contributions that were made from our speakers, and then I'd like to open it up also to the room to make some responses. If there's anybody, maybe one or two of the speakers, and then the room for some responses.
Nizenande, can we add the issue of, it came from our keynote.
Yes.
Political power is occupied.
Yes.
By those who are abusing it or misusing it or
Yes.
failing to fulfill the ideals that are being expressed
Fantastic.
here.
Yes.
So how do movements deal with that question of political power?
Yes.
That would be interesting to hear from the House. Yeah.
Fantastic. You're also allowed to percolate, please, because we are here for 3 days. Go ahead. So any of those that have come up.
Oh, thank you very much.
I think you changed your name on the...
Yes, please. So you can call me Mbo.
Mbo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not Lala.
Okay, Mbo.
Mbo.
Great.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So, because Malagasy name is really long, Raveloarimisa, Lala, Mbolatiana. So
okay.
Just call me Mbo.
Okay. And then Mbo, are you going to speak in French? We can put our earphones back on.
No, I try to speak in English.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure. So in Madagascar.
Viva Madagascar.
So
okay.
I will try to respond to the last question and
yes.
next to the other question. So how we do to mobilize everybody. For our case, the movement Nifnakanga is mobilized on the whole question about ladies, genders, etc. For us, we want to pass a bill to permit the therapeutic interruption of pregnancy in case it can kill the lady. Yeah, but what happened? So the Catholic Church pay everybody. So they pay really the MPs not even to talk about the law. So at 3 times the law really disappear. And then the Catholic Church built a church in the MPs area. So now we have a church in democratic, I don't know what. So what we did, we call the doctors with us, because now if the doctors save lives and do this TTP, the doctors will go to jail because it's forbidden. But if the doctors don't save the woman, he will be jailed because he let the woman die. So that's why we tell to the doctors to come with us. We tell the media to come with us. So we did it as it is a social and a health question. So it's And now we talk to young people because we can see that it's a dilemma about generation. The generation of really Christian people say, okay, it's a devil thing, but those like my age said it's time to go because we can save it about health, not about something else. And what we did too is to call everybody in the world, because as we see in America, it's not a permanent right. Yes. And if we can together, and even in Africa together, build this strategy, it can more in phases. What I said that my country is a cartoon country is my president really listened to what over said from abroad, not inside, but abroad. When we have international pressure, we think that things can go better. So please join us, and we hope that 2 weeks, the 2 weeks coming, there will be another chance to pass the law. So we cross things and pray for us. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mbo. Oh, can you hear me? I never know. I'm just, I have to take, and that, I'm gonna try get some new voices. These two contributions, and I do want to just encourage everybody to keep it as concise as you can, get us closer to the heart of your message as you speak. So we'll take these two, and you as the third, yeah. We'll go here, there, and then those three final questions. Go ahead for contributions.
I know that you want me to keep it quick and moving, but I will try speak slowly for the sake of translation.
Okay.
Listening to Alicia Gaz's podcast in the afternoon, there's some words that really hit me around what she says, that movements are waves and they're not light switches. We inherit them and we commit to them every day, even when they break our hearts. Boniface Mwangi is one of, perhaps in my view as a Kenyan, a man whose soul is constantly broken both by the state and by the people that he defends. And be it the lawsuits, the numerous lawsuits that are against him, be it the cyberbullying that we all see against him on social media, be it the questions and around challenging his credibility as the one to speak. So I just have one question for him, based on a statement that you said, that it takes a certain level of insanity to recommit to this movement every, excuse my French, fucking day. So I just want him to share with us what in God's name that insanity is, when your soul is constantly and your spirit is constantly crushed and bogged down and pulled down every day with these lawsuits, with this discredibility, with this, cyberbullying. How does it do it? Because there's some of us, we are just at the tip of giving up and changing careers to be something else.
Sure, that's powerful. I didn't get your name.
My name is Tabitha.
Tabitha, thank you. Boniface, I'm going to come back to you around that, but thank you for bringing in to this discussion and this conversation the matters of the impact on our souls, on our spirits, on our hearts, and how close it is to give up constantly and to give in. Thank you for that, Tabitha. Go ahead.
Thank you. Amandla.
Gawe too.
My name is Pumi Mtetwa, and I am with Just Associates Jazz, a feminist movement building and support organization across Mesoamerica, Southeast Asia, and Southern Africa. Movement work is hard. I want to appreciate what all the speakers throughout the day, but I want to put maybe further provocations and to the comrades on the last panel particularly, and Comrade Mazibuko. Sometimes it feels like we romanticize movements, no? I think it's something we need to grapple with in our discussion as we try to reignite, build collective power. What is really the state of the movements across the continent? I appreciate the building from the very local to national and trying to make links. But I think, honestly, a lot of the questions that have been raised requires us to take pulse of what is the state of the movement. So when we talk about the divides, why are they divided? Why are NGOs taking over and articulating what should be movement work and so on?
Sure.
And of course, the continuous crisis of the left, what I call the crisis of the left, and the tensions with many of us feminist movement not finding space to actually do those bridges. I think it's a collective reflection that is necessary. I think the second thing that for me is important is maybe what Shaeera raised in the importance of being able to, I'm not sure the rising part at the moment. It feels like we are on a constant defensive, right? We need to defend some minimum gains that we have made. But the fact remains that, as it was described, that this crisis moment is probably at an accelerating pace more than ever before. So what is it going to take? And some of it lies in some of the tensions that exist amongst us as activists, that exist, amongst them, the frustrations of not being able to build bridges. And some people have thrown in donors, some people have thrown in hands of capital in how it tries to divide us. So I do think that we shouldn't romanticize how we are as organizers, as but we need to take some pulses to exactly what is our capacity to truly build and to build meaningfully in this crisis moment.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mpumi. Thank you. And then we'll take this from Mamdu. Yeah, but your name, Mamdu. Mamdu, okay. The mic. Okay, maybe, yeah, absolutely. But you did a lot.
I'm going to speak in 2 points, but I will start with the last one. I would like to commend our comrade who urged us to fight religion. I don't think that we could win such a fight because religion cannot be fought by ourselves like this. And remember that being determines consciousness and not the vice versa. It's not from me. So let us fight religion by changing the being of the people. And all the movements I was part of in the past proved that, I think there is no other country in the world which is suffering religion in the sense our comrade has mentioned, more than Egypt. And all of you have heard about the Muslim Brotherhood and so on. So we know how to deal with that. You cannot talk to anybody or do anything to change the belief of anybody. But you can talk to him to change his being, and accordingly, he will get a new consciousness. So this is the first point, and I wouldn't go deeper. The second point is concerning the question the comrade has just mentioned now, it's about the power. I think the main problem, which our comrade had mentioned now, is the crisis of the left. Yes, the left is in crisis. And there is a big difference between crisis and problems, because problems could be solved within the existing system, but a crisis cannot be dealt with within the same system. We have to look to another system. We have to change the system. And all of us, we have been working in campaigning, in rallying, in movements, and we are making solidarity and whatever. Do we need that? Yes, we do. We do need struggles on the ground. We do need solidarity and campaigning, and we do need good NGOs and everything. But it is not enough. It is not sufficient. Necessary conditions, not sufficient, like the mathematicians used to say. But what we need is something different. Everybody of us has followed up the movement of World Social Forum. It has been created as a reaction to the World Economic Forum since the beginning of the millennium. And then the World Social Forum started a huge movement, but it was against neoliberalism. And after a while, it has lost its momentum because of the polarization happened and everything. I don't want to go into details now, but due to this polarization, we have established a new movement in February 2019 in Venezuela, which is called La Asamblea Internacional de los Pueblos, which is something similar to the World Social Forum, but it is not for everybody against neoliberalism, but for those who are fighting capitalism. So only the participants of that are anti-capitalista. So that is a step forward, but it's still not enough. It is still a forum just to exchange opinions and so on. What we really need is an organization on a global scale. And this is something completely different. And the history has shown the most importance, the utmost importance of such an organization now, an organization that is capable to take decisions, an organization on a global scale. And this is something different. And I have to say, this is not an event to be done, which is, I call it for international. It is a process we have to kick off.
Yeah, fantastic.
And this process is not kicked off yet. And we have been working on this process since at least 25 years. Anyway, I have written something. If anybody wants to share it with me, just to contact me. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mamdu. So, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Okay, I am seeing lots of hands. I am also seeing the time, because I am a seer of things. Take that loosely. I remember Marilise had a question or a comment. There was another one. There are many. Wait. I see all of you. Don't worry. Even waving is not going to help much. Even if you jump, shout, and scream. So, breathing out possibly is important. There's some questions here. There's a question specifically directed to Boniface. There's another one to Shaeera. And there was something to Mazibugo. I think there's more contributions. Some might be people's contributions into the space. What I would like to do is twofold. is to remind everybody that we've got 2 more days together. Yes, another soul connecting with me and speaking, laying the path. So we've got 2 more days. We will make the time for all of these contributions to find expression. We have to make that time. I would like to shift the way things are because by definition, we only have 30 minutes left for today in particular. Our program for today is meant to end at 5. It gives us time also to shift what we are thinking of a little bit for tomorrow, given all of these questions. Please write them down. If you haven't seen how it works today, I will make every effort to come back to you as best as I possibly can. I cannot make everybody happy, but as you know, but I will make every effort at least to let you be heard, okay? Because I'd like us to shift a little bit, there's some provocations that I have that I would like us to think about as the room shifts and changes. We've got another, do we still have them here? Sounds of the South?
Yeah.
They're still here? Oh, they're at the door. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah,
So
they're
they are waiting to get started. So before they come in and give us a piece, and then we'll wrap up at the end, there's some observations that I'd like to bring into the room. One of the observations as movements, even in this town hall example or scenario, is every single person who came to speak said, this is not what I thought is going to happen. I thought there would be a panel discussion. And so someone even said, what was the word that I said doesn't bring? Ambushed. So there was a feeling of being ambushed. I don't like ambushing. It's very unsafe. And yet proceeded to do the thing that made them feel ambushed. So there was no one who said, can we maybe continue? Can we take 5 minutes? Can we maybe go back to the panel? Can we do? I want to put it to you that when we reflect on ourselves, when we reflect on the work that is before us, how is it that we embody the very things that we speak about? How is it that we do the very provocations and hold the space? So I've also said, oh, I can't take everybody, and I really don't want you to pick me up and throw me out of the room either. But I do want us to bring it front of mind to say, how do I become the very thing to some degree that I'm calling for? Because my experience is very different to, not very, but somewhat different to what I've been hearing being spoken about. In instances where even I myself haven't made room in the space, okay? In some instances, unintentionally so, right? And so while we are listening to Sounds of the South, we will wrap up, but I would like us to think and percolate throughout the evening, because we're going to come back to this in the morning, is if we are going to reimagine futures, how does it begin here? In reimagining spaces, in reimagining contributions, in reimagining being, I like that provocation, in reimagining conversation, in matters around our souls. Those are the things that I'm curious also for you to bring into this room and provoke around, because they are also happening here in this room. This is a cellular representation or a microcosmic that's happening in the macrocosm. Okay. On that note, I'm going to ask Sounds of the South. I can't see them. So to come in and give us their piece, and then we will wrap up and give next steps. I feel like this is a real moment of faith for me. I am choosing to believe that they are here. They are outside. Someone called them. Oh, yes. But you'll have to teach. You can't just start a song and everybody instruct us. Let's see. Are they not here? Okay, we don't have to. There they are. Yeah, we can sing songs ourselves. There they are. So they'll give us something very short and then we'll wrap up the day since we didn't take the break earlier. Yeah, they can teach us a song. They can sing one with and for us. Come through, come through, come through. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Asina luvalo. Asina luvalo. Sure.
Yes.
Nah.
Sure. Lele. Oh, ah, oh, Sure. Lele. Oh, ah, oh, Sure. Lele. Oh, ah, oh, Ndomnyama zilwele. Shuelele. Shuelelele ma. Oh, ah, oh, Babulalu Ndomnyama. Shuelele. Shuelelele ma. Oh, ah, oh, Ndomnyama zilwele. Shuelele. Shuelelele ma. Oh, ah, oh, Ndomnyama zilwele. Shuelele. Oh, ah, oh.
Click, clack, they shooting. Blood spilling. I smell danger, anger, political assassination, marijuana, bloodshed. Their blood shall nourish the spirit of the activist. Women and men facing the enemy. All my people rise up. Women, arms up, because we multiply. We say, Doi Doi lives on. Doi Doi lives on. Doi Doi lives on. Doi Doi lives on. Shuelele. Oh, ah, oh, Shuelele. Oh, ah.
Alumdomnyama. Shuelelele ma.
Children are poor, selling tomatoes and paper bags outside of the corner store. Too weak to start war, too angry for peace. And it could be better off though. We could be doctors and lawyers, intellectuals, fighting for peace. Rather, we're fighting for pieces of economic stake. Tell me what's beef, my brother. Revolution in the streets, my brother. Green pastures, green passports, green bag. That's the African dream. Get your passport or get your pasta. Cheat on the ballot, explain it after. This ain't living, it's a disaster. Fuck all the followers, be the master. Be the master.
Music is the only thing that enters the mind within. He doesn't need no permission, only your admission. Speeding images for your minds to envision. Feed your souls with the healing sounds. Umculwa silo pupa, awuno puma kumnyeke ndivumela ukuphupha. Kwaliqonga singonqunqa, singonqele linyani kuvakalizani okwezulu lizongoma. Music is the only thing that enters the mind within. He doesn't need no permission, only your admission. Speeding images for your minds to envision. Feed your souls with the healing sounds. Umculwa silo pupa, awuno phuma kuthi ngeke sivumele ukuphupha. Kwaliqonga singonqunqa, singonqele linyani kuvakalizani okwezulu lizongoma. Zulu, Zulu, lizongoma.
So we marching in the streets with our lighters in hand, with one goal in mind. Today, we burning the man. If they stop us in our tracks and asking for our demands, tell them we want freedom in our motherland, because we've been living in discrimination for a long time. We've been living in segregation for a long time. This democracy is really a system of all hypocrisy. Another dubious scheme plotted by the bureaucracy. This methane gas, you can see it, you can't smell it. It fills your lungs every day when you inhale it. When all of the born freeze all starts decaying, the essence will fill the air as the anthems play. Take your hand off the Bible. Don't swear to God. Just swear to the universe that one day you'll be charged. When the veil is off your eyes and you can see the facade that is the society that's gas in the air, the methane's out.
If you look at every angle of the system that we live by, never meant for me and you and not for our protection. The enemy of the working class is what we see in them. They say shoot first, ask later. That's what the bosses tell them. They come in numbers, hatred up and struggle. Divide and shoot the masses, then look up and beat the leaders. The Marikana massacre, who took the blame for that? Let them shoot to kill. We'll be moving with the masses. So pushum zabalazo tekuvuke nabaphansi.
Pushum zabalazo.
Tekuvuke nabaphansi.
So pushum zabalazo.
Tekuvuke nabaphansi. We say so pushum zabalazo.
Tekuvuke nabaphansi.
So pushum zabalazo.
Tekuvuke nabaphansi.
I say so pushum zabalazo.
Tekuvuke nabaphansi.
So pushum zabalazo.
Look in every corner, sense of fear everywhere we go. We don't know who's next. We keep on watching our back. Darkness, look in every corner, sense of fear everywhere we go. Mama said, don't talk to strangers, can't lay trust on our neighbors. Oh, oh, oh. Darkness lurk in every corner, sense of fear everywhere we go. We don't know who's next. Keep on watching our backs. Darkness lurk in every corner, sense of fear everywhere we go. Mama said, don't talk to strangers, can't they just on our neighbors. To the deceitful lies, our minds are starved, and with no knowledge of who we mount to be, our souls are deprived. Carefully be not your mental state that's bounded in chains by these heads of states who claim to be fighting for change, because their minds have been demonized, poisoned by the devil's wicked life. Self-liberation is a must, so is repatriation. With education as the power to seek, with its strength, even the system being the Titanic ship, we won't sink. So Black women, rise and have motion, lest you show no emotions, because we have big steps and deep breaths to be taken. For our struggle is pain as we swim in the open spaces of the ocean. See, their plan was to leave us with no options. Using the suppressions to gain our submissions will open up their eyes, make them realize, because they now not awake as they thought we paid no attention. Tell them school is out and only they be staying behind to attend detention. With the lies of dollar bill women and Barbie dolls, we bear no ties. So let's stay with our struggles, find a way to be relevant, for it is evident our worth they've limited, but our strength combined is limitless. Darkness lurk in every corner, sense of fear everywhere we go. We don't know who's next. Keep on watching our backs. Darkness lurk in every corner, sense of fear everywhere we go. Mama said, don't talk to strangers, can't lay trust on our neighbors. Oh.
Sek fike lo thuba lobigwala lithi ku ngoba soze sathule zethu isifuba sigcwele qhu. Every day a woman's killed because of one man's hate. Even when we walk the streets, man, we ain't safe because we're living in fear of being raped and killed. Kuphuqiqa kwakho ndoda when you rape and kill. Karabo kwasa uyinene nomvuzo, murdered in cold blood, sashiyeka nemibuzo. The system doesn't care about a woman's safety. Instead, it brutalizes all the victims' family. With this hate and anger that our brothers hold, we will never get a chance to see our children grow. With this hate and anger that you brothers hold, we will never get a chance to see our children grow.
There's a fire in the mountains, Kalela manzi, Remdo Nyambo. There is a fire in the mountain, Kalela manzi, Remdo Nyambo. There is a fire in the mountain, Kalela manzi, Remdo Nyambo. Fire in the mountain, Kalela manzi, Remdo Nyambo. Fire in the mountain, Kalela manzi, Remdo Nyambo.
Many years a victim, no offense. Many years in chains, no defense. Sense of dignity taken away, but we know ourselves. The only thing we gotta lose is the change, so we fight to take the power back. We be moving like the Maroons, they setting dogs on our tracks, and they won't hesitate to put the bullet on your back. But Father Time is on side, that's a fact. Tell him what we mean. Tell him what we mean when we say black don't crack. Black lives matter, so they gotta fall back without anti-black fluffy logic. They gotta hit the road now, Black. Because we're gonna speak for ourselves, organize ourselves, build a new world with our own hands, even if of the pressure from the rand, we are caught in the squeeze. Sleep on our feet, the belly of the beast is large and is deep. The path to liberation is long and steep when we got police in the streets waving gun in the name of keeping peace, but they ain't keeping peace. They just protecting the rich, tend to the other chick. We'd be working hard in the yard, but we barely eat, like being born dead and died or living. So glad till we run down the street pavements. While we know why the cage bed never stops singing. Close my eyes, trying to see the world through my ancestors' vision. Yet I'm stuck in a place that feels and looks like my ancestors' prison, trying to align my third eye with the moon and the stars, but I guess it's a hard mission. The last of the dying breed, the first of the now generation. I made my affirmations, kneeling down the bones of the martyrs. Wash my face with the tears of my single mother. But sometimes I found myself drowning in the lager. I failed to balance all my chakras, stuck between a hot place and a boss cutter, living like an alien in the land of my forefathers. Bread, sugar, water, call it good supper. The youth and the old suffers while they playing Robin Hood on the TV screens. We see through the facade, the picture is clear. This is dedicated to the people living that ghetto with fear. The rich man fool barely laugh. It's the pressure we feel. I say the rich man fool barely laugh when they go ha 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 ha. It's the pressure we feel.
Black Sunlight. The first words of Black Sunlight. Marichera. Anyone? Through the window. Through the window. That's right, the fucking window. I was meditating my immigration status. Meanwhile, my heart was halfway to touching home. The raw problems of the first man. Survive the whims of a dictator in your debt camp, or be an absolute slave with no place on the map. Whichever way, we're absolutely in the jaws of the trap. Destined for the house without a window. Airbnb or couch surfing with our kinfolk. Mindfully abuse these drugs and alcohol and carefully timing my drunken steps so I'll never fall. Feet first through the window. Another suicide attempt, condition critical. 21st century, propped up by happy pills, needing caffeine or codeine so our bodies can feel. Cool summer breeze through the window, airplane mode as I touched down in Oslo. I did a 1,000-yard glance toward the seashore, and migrants were pouring over the fort by the boatload. Glorious morning, what a golden dawn. Rivers of blood are floating in two Mediterraneans. Waving and drowning while we raise our arms, and Mama Africa's preoccupied, can't keep us safe from harm. This fifth wall, this second window, the pirated Netflix, the screen is cracked also. Teleporting our lives out of limbo, the entertainment values compromised 1,000-fold. Still my thoughts provide windows to my ancient soul, the ways and pretend that mistake did not happen.
If you can stand, what the song says, there's a fire in the mountain. Grab some water, dear black person. So there's a fire in the mountain. Kalela amanzi. Wemtomnyama. Let's go again. There's a fire in the mountain. Kalela manzi. Wemtomnyama. There's a fire in the mountain. Kalela manzi. Get some water. Black person, there's a fire. Fire in the mountain. Kalela manzi. Wemtomnyama, one more time until I hear you. Fire in the mountain. Kalela manzi. Wemtomnyama. There's a fire in the mountain, Kalela manzi, wemdomnyama. Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There's a fire in these mountains. Hey, Kalela manzi. Grab a bucket. I want you to imagine it. There's a fire. Have you been in a fire in a mountain? Has anyone seen one? No. Yes? You've never been to a mountain. Okay, in a field, yet. In a field, wherever it is, terrifying. It consumes you. Very quickly. I was young. I even had a thorn in my eye. So it's a very real thing. And I think, again, there are fires. Fire is a theme. There are fires in us. We have come with our own fires. Some of us want to set some things alight. And I hope that we will get the chance to do that. We've come to the end of day one. And at the end of day one, I think there's some reflections. And what I would like to do is I'd just like to close it out in your tables. And I would like you to have a word, just a word to describe how you are feeling right now. What is still burning? What is reconciled, unreconciled? What's uncomfortable? What is not feeling good in your back, in your legs, in your mind, wherever it is that is happening? What is feeling particularly good in your heart? And just a good 5 minutes, and then we will wrap it up and I'll give you instructions. Just short, it doesn't have to be too long, within the table that you are in. What is the burning word that you are sitting with right now? Quickly, 1 or 2 people.